o'clock here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm here to do a public broadcasting special on You Are the Universe. And I'm about to leave, and then I go to California to attend the Science of Consciousness conference. And so here is today's discussion. It's actually prompted by Jennifer L. And I'm just reading a message from the computer. It says, atoms come together to create the body naturally with creative intent. Perhaps this analogy can be expanded to include the networking of people, particularly in business, where, let's say, one is soul identified and recognizes choiceless awareness. Namely, doors open and you meet people naturally, sincerely going within to do the spiritual work, and remaining soul identified brings this about, so that networking flows automatically from the soul's inspiration. What do we want to remember in order to live in such a state of shared awareness where one can profit from the opportunities which come in synchronicity? My question is inspired by Deepak's interview with CNBC's Brian Sullivan and the book You Are the Universe, pages 172 to 173. Okay, so this is the book, You Are the Universe, Discovering Your Cosmic Self and Why It Matters, written by me and my co-author Menas Kafatos, who's a quantum physicist, cosmologist, and climate change expert. So, first of all, Jennifer, thank you for the question. There are some things there that I will explain in detail, but first of all, just remember that what we say here, what I say here, what I say in this book, what I'd say in these discussions, is by and large not accepted by mainstream scientists. In fact, they call it pseudoscience. They ridicule it, they denigrate it, they criticize it, and they have a pretty good time attacking it. Now this book, the first part of this book, is very mainstream. So the first 9 chapters are very mainstream, written with my colleague Menas Kafatos, and no scientist can object to the first 9 chapters of this book. But the first 9 chapters also basically tell us why we can't answer the most important questions that cosmologists are trying to answer. They can't answer these scientifically. What came before the Big Bang? Why does the universe fit together so perfectly? Where did time come from? What is the universe made of? Is there design in the universe? They'll say unanimously no. Is the quantum world linked to everyday life? Do we live in a conscious universe? How did life first begin? Does the brain create the mind? So these are very important questions that scientists cannot answer at the moment. We address them. Yeah, scientists have many theories, but there are no proofs for these theories. So these theories basically are, in a sense, mathematical metaphysics, if I may so use the word. So in the second part of the book, Embracing Your Cosmic Self, we do, 2 of us, talk about the answers from a spiritual point of view, the power of personal reality, where you really came from, and then getting comfortable with qualia and how cosmic consciousness behaves. So, and all of you who are sending me these beautiful hearts and sharing the video with other people, thank you very much. So let me answer these questions, the one that Jennifer asked, and let me address them from a totally consciousness, spiritual perspective. Okay, may I do that? So first of all, current science believes that the atoms the movement of atoms is random. And the movement of random atoms cannot explain ultimately the emergence of life and on planet Earth or life in general. It cannot explain our own consciousness. It cannot explain the fact that we wonder about our existence. And as you know, I've said previously, atoms are human constructs or modes of knowing and experience. But leave that aside. Now let's take the current model of atoms and Big Bang and so on. There are a lot of problems with the Big Bang, even though all science currently suggests that something did happen 13.8 billion years ago that resulted in the universe. But in the first 10 to the power of minus 43 seconds, which is known as the Planck epoch, there were no laws to speak of, nothing to actually measure, immeasurable even after that. And then there's a period called cosmic inflation where the universe tripled in size every trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a second, and then suddenly slowed down again with mathematical precision. And then there is the emergence of basically photons as a result of the annihilation of particles with antiparticles and the slight imbalance. Much later there is the appearance of hydrogen and helium, and then the fusion, and ultimately there are stars and galaxies and heavy atoms that are formed in the crucible of burning stars, and on and on. There's a whole process of cosmic evolution which is supposed to be totally accidental, random, and it doesn't explain, as I said, the emergence of life and mind. It doesn't explain a universe that is finely tuned for mind and life. It doesn't explain our own consciousness, on and on. So these are big problems that science is facing right now. So what I propose here, and it does ultimately answer your question, is that there's a process called creative interactivity, which means that cosmic consciousness, which is pure consciousness, which is formless, which is infinite possibilities, it creatively interacts with itself and then evolves. So the appearance of atoms as human constructs, of course, but also as modes of behavior of that consciousness, is a process of creative interactivity. And then those atoms have creative interactivity with each other, and ultimately you have the build-up of the whole periodic table. And then this creative interactive process is how morphogenesis and differentiation occur, how the one becomes the many, how the infinite becomes almost what we call today 2 trillion galaxies and 700 sextillion stars and trillions and trillions and trillions of planets. And here we are, a speck of dust in an infinite void, creating the junkyard of infinity. But nevertheless, this whole process was one single entity, which is consciousness, pure consciousness, infinite possibilities, creatively interacting with itself, and ultimately resulting in both cosmic and biological evolution. And this phenomenon we can call emergence. Emergence is a result of this creative interactivity, which follows certain patterns. Recursion, as above, so below. As is the atom, so is the universe. As is the cosmic mind, so is the human mind. as is the atom, so is the universe, as is the microcosm, so is the macrocosm. So we can say this is a process where there is recycling, recursion, evolution, self-regulation, self-organization, self-interactivity, creative interactivity, ultimately everything that we call the experience of reality. So recursion, evolution, self-regulation, complementarity, creative interactivity, emergence are all basically the mechanics of how the one infinite becomes the many diverse expressions of the one infinite. We are all that. I'm that, you're that, all this is that, that alone is. Even at the time of conception, you're basically a double-stranded DNA, a human zygote that creatively interacts with itself, and through a process called morphogenesis and differentiation ultimately results in the entire body, which is more than 100 trillion cells, which is more than all the stars in the Milky Way galaxy. So that one cell creatively interacts with itself, becomes heart, kidney, brain, lungs, fingernails, genitalia, hair follicles, liver, spleen, kidney, you name it, eyes, nose, vocal cords. Here we are, that one cell, creatively interacting with its own self and creating in the human body 100 trillion cells, more than all the stars in the Milky Way galaxy, each cell in connection with every other cell, each cell in harmony with every other cell, each cell also in harmony with the universe, because our biological rhythms, circadian rhythms, seasonal rhythms, cosmic rhythms in general, gravitational rhythms, lunar rhythms are basically the rhythms of the universe that are there in our own biology. And when we are in perfect sync with our cosmic rhythms, then we experience harmony, joy, laughter, energy, creativity, etc., etc., and connectivity. So how does this work with your more or less business question, which is networking for creative opportunities and synchronicity? So first of all, let's get rid of the word networking. I don't like it. Let's say creative interactivity and cultivating relationship. So here is what people are saying about emergence these days. When you have a number of people who have a shared vision, whatever that shared vision is, our shared vision here for me right now together with you is to reach 1 billion people for a more peaceful, sustainable, just, healthier and happier planet. But whatever their shared vision is, a number of people with shared vision who are emotionally and spiritually bonded, who complement each other's strengths. And when there is an open system for that and total transparency for that, then and furthermore all the people involved are of diverse talents and unique strengths. So let's say shared vision, emotional and spiritual bonding, complementing each other's strengths, open system, yes, and maximum diversity for the creative interactivity to take place, then there is emergence. The vision emerges, and many ways it does, into actuality in very unpredictable ways. But randomness is not unpredictability. The two are different. Randomness implies inherent randomness. Unpredictable implies that we actually don't know what's going on, but these atoms that are moving randomly, I'm talking about the cosmic evolution, then they are actually appearing to move randomly, but they're actually unpredictable because they're creative and they connect interactively with each other. So if you totally get that, then yes, we can use this principle in our own life to enhance synchronicity, spontaneous fulfillment of desire, um, effortless emergence. Therefore, creative interactivity, emergence, cosmic evolution, biological evolution, and now our conscious evolution is all linked. Our conscious evolution as a human species. I call that the next phase of our evolution, the meta-human. The meta-human. So now, as long as this makes sense for you, then you should be listening deeply to yourself. What is your vision? You should be connecting with other people who share that vision. You should complement their strengths. You should create an open forum. You should have total transparency, and you should have what I call diversity from different areas of life: scientists, philosophers, poets, musicians, artists, mathematicians, people who are social workers, people who are caretakers, people who are leaders in their families, family leaders, business leaders, thought leaders, market leaders, business leaders, academic leaders. Maximum creativity. If we could create an ecosystem like that, we would easily create a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, happier world. And alongside, create new businesses and all kinds of opportunities. So I thank all of you, by the way, for sharing this video with other people, expanding our conversation. And I am very grateful for this opportunity that I have every day to speak to you, to get your responses, and to move with you in this direction of a critical mass of 1 billion people for a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier and happier world. Okay, so what is emergence? Emergence is the phenomenon where something comes into existence that didn't exist before, and that something is a creative expression. And today, at least today, let's make this a collective, cooperative effort. And the principles are creative interactivity, shared vision, transparency, open system, emotional and spiritual bonding. What else? Recursion, evolution, self-regulation, and self-organization, and boom, emergence. And this is creative and spontaneous. So let's call it spontaneous, interactive creativity, emergence, cosmic and biological evolution, and now conscious evolution together, so we can create a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, happier, joyful planet with abundance for all. Okay, I'll speak to you tomorrow from California. I have now to go to the local PBS station, and we'll go from there. Janice Singh and 20 others shared your video. Thank you, Janice. Thank you, everyone here, for joining in our vision together. Thank you.